Hello and welcome. Sparkamus here. Very excited to be showing off my new Pockets plugin. It is a Spigot Bukkit plugin for Minecraft, which will allow you to store items inside of other items within your inventory, i.e. Pockets. So as always, let's take a look at what we're getting the code from. My GitHub page, Sparkamus Pockets. And we will take a look at the POM file to see that we are on version 1.0.0. And we'll build this plugin into our plugins directory. While that builds, we'll take a look at some of the configurations. If you have an item with a pocket, you can open that pocket by right-clicking the item, and that is configurable via the click type enum. Okay, so that's built. Let's spool up the server. And you can see these are the default materials that can have pockets crafted into them. We have all of the armor types, as well as the diamond barding, that's horse armor, and saddles, carpets, and pumpkins. Any new material you might add to this list will have a default pocket size of 6, and it will not allow pockets in pockets. So that means if you have an item which has a pocket and there's items in that pocket, you can't store that item into another item with a pocket by default. That would allow for infinite storage. And you can see all the materials that come with this plugin by default have that setting to false explicitly, except for saddles, carpets, and pumpkins. They have that set to true. So that will allow infinite storage, which is pretty exciting. But if you don't like that, you can just turn that off. And this isn't actually the config that the server is using. Let's open that up now so we don't confuse that later. This is it. Okay, so everything's all spooled up. Let's take a look at some of these features in action. I have a little starting area for us with some materials that will help us demonstrate the plugin. In order to craft an item with a pocket, you need to first craft a pocket. And I do want to point out that that is configurable as well. In the config file here, you can see the recipe for pocket. You can change the name here in case you need it in German or French or something, and it'll all work. The name of the inventory will also be updated as well as the item. And then you can change, the shape of the recipe and what materials go into it and the output as well. You can see the default output is a flower pot. Okay, so let's craft a pocket. So the idea was iron ingots across the top, and I'm just going to make 3 pockets. And rabbit hides along the bottom, representing like the pouch of the rabbit. You can see here, now we've got 3 pockets, and it is a flower pot because I think that looks strangely like a pocket. So now that we have a pocket, we can craft it into this chest plate here by putting a pocket on top and string in like an H around those 2 items. And you can see now that this pocket has nothing in it. That's why it says 0. But if I were to right click the chest plate, I can put our rabbit fur, and let's put half our string up there. And if we close the inventory, and now we can hover over the chest plate and see that it has 3 items in the pocket, and we can right click it, and sure enough the items are still there. Okay, so while I'm here with all these pockets, let me just craft some other items that we'll demonstrate later. All of these are going to have the same shape. It's always going to be the item with the pocket on bottom, the pocket on top, and then an H around it. This part is not configurable. And let's do the saddle. And that should cover most of the use cases I want to show off. Okay, so now we have 3 different things to store things into. First, let's demonstrate pocket in pocket. So as we indicated, pumpkins, that's allowed. Chest plates, it's not. So if we open up this pumpkin, you can store the chest plate into it, and if you reopen the pumpkin, you can get the chest plate out, and it still has all of the items in it. Now you can't do the reverse though. So if we try to store the pumpkin in the chest plate, you can see, we're in the pumpkin right now. Let's open up the chest plate, try to store the pumpkin into it. It is allowing it. Why is it allowing it? Did I open up the chest plate again? No, the pumpkin doesn't have anything in it. We have to put something in the pumpkin. Glad that happened. I can demonstrate then that you can actually store something with a pocket and something else if it's empty. So let's put some string in that pumpkin and open up the chest plate, and now you can see it says pockets in pockets not allowed. So that's not allowed. Now I was able to interrupt that event in Spigot, which is why I was able to cancel it. Now there's a weird way to add things to the inventory that Spigot doesn't actually have an event for, and I'll show that now. If you click here and hold and then like move away, it's gonna let it drop, and there's not an event I could interrupt. I couldn't stop it, but have no fear, we can solve this. The second you close the inventory, I kick that item back out. And this is a good time to demonstrate, like, what if, let's do the legal action here. This is allowed to put the chest plate inside of the pumpkin. What if you were like, this infinite storage thing, this is getting out of hand, I don't like this, and after you've had it on your server for a couple days or whatever, you change your mind and you decide to make all these false, I don't like this, let's take this infinite storage off. So if you do that, then let's reload the server, and you can see whenever somebody has a pocket, we actually didn't have a pocket inventory open, but I'll show that later. This person didn't have a pocket inventory open, but they did have an existing pumpkin with an item in it which had items in that. So this is now not allowed. So right when we open this, it's going to kick that chest plate out. Now let's imagine some other scenarios. Like, let's say they did the weird drag thing, and then I don't know, your server crashed. Well, again, when you start it up again, next time they open it, it's going to get kicked out. And okay, so you can see that weird drag kind of happens more often than you think. Like, it just takes like a small drag. If you do like a clean click there, like, it kind of pops back out, but any kind of small drag across is going to drop it in there. So, but I kick it out after the fact. Okay, so next thing to demonstrate is, so this pumpkin has some string in it. If we put this pumpkin down on the ground, it stops being an item and it's a block at that moment. So there's no lore I can store into this pumpkin anymore because it's not a pumpkin. So I kick the item out, so the player doesn't lose anything, and I can just kick it out on the ground at that moment. Now, if it was an accident, they might be upset that they lost their pockets that they crafted in this pumpkin, but as you can see, the message down there says, the item you just placed had a pocket attached. If you pick it back up soon, it might still be there. So if we beat up this pumpkin and pick it back up, the pocket's still going to be there. Now, if that person leaves the pumpkin sitting overnight and you restart the server, when they come back, that pumpkin is not still going to have a pocket in it. One thing I really wanted to achieve with this first release is that this plugin does not save any external files for the sake of storing the items in the pocket. The information for the items is in the item lore itself. Now, it's invisible lore, that's why you can't see it. And I was really excited when I found out you could do that, so this is the first idea that popped in my head. What kind of data could we store in an item? Obviously the possibilities are endless. We can start keeping track of stats and things without muddying up the UI. Okay, so next, I guess let's demonstrate you can put these items, the pumpkin's empty, let's put the chest plate in. You can put these items in item frames and you can get them out later, and everything's still in there. You might be wondering, like, I've just kind of put vanilla items in right now. Like, let's run this command here. This is a OP only command. I have a sword here with like all the trimmings. Essentially, it's got a custom name, Excalibur. It's got knockback 2 enchantment, and it's got its own lore, mighty lore. So let's take that out and store that into the chest, and I just want to demonstrate to you guys that everything comes back out just how it went in. Nothing is lost. No data will get lost. Okay, so to cap off the demonstration, I want to show you guys my favorite feature, which is the saddle storage. So we can slap this saddle on a horse. Oops, I went inside the pocket. We can put the saddle on the horse, and then we can store things in it. And they gave us a taste of this with the camels or the llamas and the donkeys, but never the horse. And now you have it. Now you can take your horse anywhere and bring a bunch of stuff with it, and by default the saddle is one of those infinite storage devices, so you can really kind of pack up your whole house and bring it with you pretty easily. So if there's anything you guys can think about that could make this plugin better in the future, let me know in the comments. If you like this, please give me a like, and thanks.